And away from Asia to Europe, where in the United Kingdom, Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab has resigned from the government after an investigation upheld some bullying allegations against him. The full report into his behavior found Mr. Raab had acted in an intimidating and insulting manner with civil servants while he was Secretary of State for Justice. He also was found to have described work as utterly useless and woeful in meetings. The report also suggests that he abused power in a way that humiliated staff in his specific case while Foreign Secretary. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who received the report on Thursday, has accepted Mr. Raab's resignation. Mr. Raab had promised to resign if the inquiry found evidence of bullying, but has criticized the inquiry, saying it set the threshold too low. Now, for more on this resignation and UK politics, a former mayoral candidate, Nims Obunge, joins me via Zoom from the United Kingdom. Good to have you join us.
Great to be with you today.
So the resignation of former Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab is a loss of a third senior cabinet member, in this administration. What's your thought on this latest development?
I think that we knew that a significant report was going to be coming out. It's unfortunate that it's led to a resignation of Dominic Raab, who in itself was a hardworking minister, but as the report points out, there are certain challenges in relation to the way he expressed himself in his office. It is worth noting that a new Deputy Prime Minister in Oliver Dowden has been appointed, as has Alex Chalk as the 11th person appointed as Justice Secretary. But there's been a lot of turnover, 11th Justice Secretary since 2010. So there has been a turnover in government over this period of time. And like you said, we've lost 3 ministers from the cabinet. I think the context around bullying is something that needs to be taken quite seriously. In some nations, it's played down, but I think there is something around how civil servants might feel they are, whilst working with a minister, and dare I say this, in the United Kingdom, one might say, like Dominic pointed out, it is a point of concern. Maybe this would allow other civil servants to challenge ministers, but maybe there is a conversation to be held as to how we conduct ourselves in a working environment and what the ministerial code of conduct holds to be pertinent while dealing with employees.
And many have gone back to reflect on the promise made by Rishi Sunak while he was being sworn in as Prime Minister. One of the things he said was that he promised a cabinet with people with integrity and professionalism. And many say that, look, this is a test for him. But how would you say he has handled the situation and the implication of this for him?
Okay, so somebody said this in the news yesterday, damned if you do and damned if you don't. If he was to keep Dominic Raab, it would have appeared as if he failed to take in the report as seriously as he should have. And if he was to let him go, the question would be, you were aware of some of these issues. Why did you wait this long? I think Rishi Sunak had no other option but to accept Dominic Raab's resignation. It is clear that Rishi Sunak is trying to demonstrate that he has a government where he holds integrity at the epicenter of all that he does. And he seeks to, for him to win the next election, he's going to have to demonstrate to the British public that he holds to his words, whatever he says he would do. Now, Dominic did state and did suggest to the Prime Minister at the time that when these complaints existed, that an independent inquiry should be made about him. And if any element of bullying was found, he would resign. Now, based upon Dominic's promise to the Prime Minister, Dominic had no other option, because this report, the 47-page report, indicated that there were elements of bullying. And so it was necessary for Dominic to hold true to his word to Rishi Sunak. So Rishi had no other option but to go accept his resignation.
And in his response to Dominic Raab, he did state that there were shortcomings for all those involved. Really quite a very vague response. But I want to ask you about the new appointee, the new Deputy Prime Minister, Oliver Dowden. He's to take over the role from Dominic Raab. But how well do you think he fits in as the Prime Minister battles to address the economic crisis and the wave of public sector strikes?
I think that Oliver Dowden is one of the close allies, and you need to have a team of people that you trust and that trust you while you operate in the office of Prime Minister. And Rich Sunak has his task cut out. That's without a doubt. And he needs a cabinet that he can rely on. And I believe that whilst Dominic Raab held the office, the joint office, as Deputy Prime Minister and as Justice Secretary, now what Rich Sunak has done is he's brought two people to fill those two roles. That gives him a little bit more breadth and a lot more focus. So I would expect that Alex would be focusing much more in relation to his work as Justice Secretary, and you would find Dowden giving more support to Richard Sunak in his office as Deputy Prime Minister. The nation is still, we are still under that moment where one is concerned whether we would, like has been suggested by the World Economic Forum and others, that there is a risk that we might enter into recession. But I anticipate that we don't hope to get into recession, and so we hope that this government will be able to pull us through this. We're still on the edge, but we're hoping that we'll get through this.
I also want to get your thoughts on how the response so far by opposition, especially Keir Starmer. He has taken a hit at the Prime Minister, saying this shows a sign of weakness and not of strength. And I want to get your thoughts on that.
It's interesting. I was with Keir Starmer just over the weekend. He's a politician, and this is what politics does. Politics has to point out every, has to look for the cracks. Like I said earlier on, damned if you do and damned if you don't. Whatever position Richard Sunak was going to adopt, Keir Starmer was going to go for him, because Keir Starmer clearly wants to become the next Prime Minister. So he cannot sit back and say nothing. Very rarely would you see an opposition politician applaud them. Very rarely would you see them applaud whatever the position might be of anybody who is in government. So it is the natural act of the opposition to challenge. To call Richard Sunak weak is subjective. I don't know that is weakness. I think it is what he did was only honorable. I believe that he was Dominic Raab made a promise, kept to the promise. Richard Sunak honored that, needed to have gotten the report first. The report was given to him yesterday. In 24 hours, there was a resignation. That is not weak leadership. That is quite affirmative leadership. I would expect that for anybody who is in that position. And I would hope to say that if Keir Starmer were in the same position, he would do exactly the same thing. And I wouldn't have called that weakness. I would call that professional leadership, and we just need to applaud that rather than challenge it. But that is the nature of the beast in politics. You have to be seen to oppose the incumbent.
Always a pleasure speaking with you, former mayoral candidate Nims Obunge.
My privilege.